everyone. It's a beautiful day to be in the Bronx. My name is Reverend Kevin McCall, civil rights leader out of Brooklyn, New York, founder of the Crisis Action Center. And I'm grateful to be here standing alongside community activists, Aisha Sekou from Street Corner Resources, Mike Tucker from Lay the Guns Down Foundation, Anthony Beckford, Black Lives Matter Brooklyn, and with council members in the Bronx, Council Member Roy Lanceman, Council Member Vanessa Gibson, Bronx Borough President Ruben Diaz, Assemblyman Michael Blake, District Attorney Darcel Clark, Council Member Robert Salamanca. I'll make sure I got everybody. I did, I got him already. And to the people and the citizens of the Bronx, give yourselves a hand. We are here today to stand alongside those who are in authority, to pay homage and to recognize that Black Lives Matter. It is very significant to sign a bill that should have been passed a while before, but we thank God we're getting it done now. Because it took the power of the people for people to respond. That's right. And we're grateful for that. But we're also grateful that right here in the Bronx, that Amadou Diallo was shot 41 times. We're grateful that other cases that happen right here in the Bronx, that every time you walk down this street, you will see Black Lives Matter. So we are grateful for that. But on behalf of the Gardner family, they are grateful. Gwen Carr, the mother of Eric Gardner, is grateful. The daughter, the widow, the family is grateful that a bill is being passed. That 2014, something happened that shouldn't have never happened. And we thank God that it took Councilmember Lanceman, his bill. Let's give him a hand. And the sponsors in the city council that decided to write this bill, and we're grateful. We don't always agree on different things, but we're grateful that the mayor, Bill de Blasio, has an open ear to listen to the people of New York City, to listen to the advocates that march and scream no justice, no peace. We're grateful that on a Sunday night at Gracie Mansion, he heard our cry. That's right. And he continues to hear the cries of New Yorkers. And while we continue to protest peacefully, we must respect those who have the power to do things. It doesn't make sense to march if you can't get nothing done. That's right. You're just gonna have bad feet and arthritis. But it's good to be able to march and get something done. Because marching works. Speaking out loud works. And we are grateful that we are here today to join the mayor of the city of New York, the first mayor that talked about defunding the police department, the first mayor that talked about things of black and brown people. Let us welcome the mayor of the city of New York, Mayor Bill de Blasio.
Well done. Everybody, this is a powerful day. Powerful day for so many reasons. And as a moment when you can feel change coming. And every time I have been with my brothers and sisters painting these murals, you can feel it's not just the moment when you paint the mural and affirm the words. It is the beginning of something much greater. You can feel the beginning of fundamental change. And all of us here, all of us who met in Gracie Mansion that night a few weeks ago, when I heard these leaders say that we needed to emblazon this city with the message Black Lives Matter, they did not say it was an end unto itself. They said it would be a clarion call to further action in this city. And this whole city would notice, and this whole country would notice. So to all of you, this group here was part of getting all this started all over the city. Let's thank them all. Reverend McCall, thank you. Aisha Sekou, thank you. Mike Tucker, thank you. Anthony Beckford, thank you. Gwen Carr was there too. Thank you. And I hope she still can make it here today as she was planning to. But I want to tell you, people had a vision. The vision is now happening. And it will inspire people and move people every time they see it. And I want to say something because we are coming up on a very painful anniversary. Reverend McCall noted just a few days, 6 years since we lost Eric Garner. And it never should have happened, and it should never ever happen again in this city. And there are people who die who are good people and we never know their names. And then there are those who die who should not have died, but they did not live in vain. They did not die in vain because change is happening. And we remember Eric Garner, and his very example compels us to further change. And today will be a step in that direction. Thank you again to all of the elected officials. I know District Attorney Darcel Clark was here before, and thank you to Borough President Ruben Diaz Jr., Assemblymember Mike Blake, Councilmember Rafael Salamanca, all of the leaders who are here in solidarity this moment. I'm going to have more to say about what this means and where we are going in a moment. But first, you should hear from two of the sponsors of legislation. There are 6 different bills we are signing today. 2 of the bill sponsors are here, and they deserve our appreciation. I want you to hear from them directly. First of all, from the Bronx, and someone who loves this borough passionately. She's been one of the leaders in the city council in terms of fighting for both public safety and justice at the same time. Those two ideas go together, don't they? Public safety and justice have to happen at the same time in New York City. The sponsor of Introductions 487A and 760B, Councilmember Vanessa Gibson.
Good afternoon, family. Thank you so much to each and every one of you for coming out today. This is a beautiful day that God has blessed us with, and I am so thankful to be here with our mayor, my colleagues in government, all of our community leaders and faith-based leaders, anti-gun violence activists, crisis management system, troops on the ground, and to all of you, my brothers and sisters. Thank you all. This is a very important day, and before I begin, I just want all of you to lift up the family of a young king that we lost a few weeks ago. I just came from his homegoing celebration, and that's where Mother Gwen Carr is. Reverend Al Sharpton is providing the eulogy, but we must remember our mothers, those black women that unfortunately are getting those calls to let them know that their children have been killed by the vicious cycle of gun violence. And so I want all of you to lift up the family of our young king, Brandon Hendricks Ellison. We're going to not only memorialize this life, but we are going to keep his legacy alive. Brandon was 17 years old, recently graduated from high school, and he was college bound. He was a role model, everything we desire for our young kings. And so we recognize that when we lose one, it affects all of us. And so I thank you all for that. We're here for a very important reason. This street painting culminating with the official street co-naming here on 161st Street and Morris Avenue, as well as the signing of 6 important pieces of legislation related to police reform, affirms one thing: Black Lives Matter. Black Lives Matter. We cannot say all lives matter until Black Lives Matter. And we also want to recognize that Black trans lives matter as well, because our trans brothers and sisters have been assaulted and brutalized as well. And so we denounce violence all across the board. We are here to recognize that we are here for a common purpose and a fundamental plan to change the dynamic of how we work in this city of New York. Whether it is the NYPD or any other agency, all of us stakeholders have a responsibility to protect New Yorkers, to protect our neighbors, to protect our brothers and sisters, and most importantly, to protect our children. And so we stand here committed and dedicated to the cause, to recognize that in this legislation that we're passing, we're not only affirming that Black Lives Matter, but no matter where you live in the borough of the Bronx, when you come by Morris Avenue, you will see it live and in person. And that is an important concept. It symbolizes that for 401 years, Black Americans have been dealing with systemic racism every single day. We don't come to this space easily, family. We have had a long, challenging journey. The trials and tribulations that we have faced as Black Americans have made us stronger individuals. It has kept us on the course that God has ordained for us. It has not allowed us to lose sight of what is important. And so today is significant because we are here as a borough of the Bronx to ensure that every life matters. And we have to be united, family, because there are some out there that like to get us distracted and cause us to lose focus and take us off of God's purpose for our life. Don't lose sight of what is important. When you see our young kings and our young queens, and you understand that this work is about their future, to give them a better opportunity than we were given. The path that we have been on must be easier for our young kings and queens. And so I am proud today to see this happening and coming to fruition, because all over the city of New York, from borough to borough, you're going to see Black Lives Matter. And that is important. The legislation that our mayor is going to sign today, I am proud to have authored 2 of those bills. One focuses on surveillance technology, so as New Yorkers, we understand the types of surveillance that the NYPD is using to keep us safe. We want to fundamentally respect individuals' civil rights and privacy rights and keep everyone safe at the same time. And this bill takes us a step forward. The second bill I have is related to an early warning system for those police officers that we know need additional and enhanced training. Those officers that may accumulate excessive, substantiated CCRB complaints. Those are the warning systems, the red flags that sometimes we ignore, and officers are out on patrol in our community. They need help too. And so this bill establishes a mechanism by which the NYPD speaks to other agencies like CCRB and collects data on a warning system that will be put in place. I am very proud of how far we have come, but let us recognize and give all credit to the mothers in the movement. Our queens like Gwen Carr, so many that stood and turn their pain into a plan and a purpose. We recognize them. We recognize all of the advocates and activists and young people out there. Understand, every movement in society has been led by people and not politicians. And so as I close, I want to remind each and every one of you that our work is not done yet. This is a step, ladies and gentlemen. It doesn't solve every problem, nor will it address every single issue, but it is a part of a package, a comprehensive package that we fundamentally believe strikes the necessary and delicate balance, where we support the work of the NYPD, we work collaboratively with them, but we also stand for reform for all of us, black and brown children and New Yorkers across the city. And so I thank all of you for being out here, but as we end today, our work is beginning. The next chapter of work is beginning. Do not allow today to go by without doing your work in your own community. You don't need a title in front of your name to do something. All you need to do is recognize that we are all called to something much greater than ourselves. So thank you, everyone. God bless you. And let's continue to affirm Black Lives Matter. Thank you.
Wonderful.
Thank you, Vanessa. Thank you. That was powerful. And you spoke a lot of truths there. We thank you. Now, the next speaker, the other council member who's here, who's played a crucial role in everything leading up to today, I have to tell you, first of all, he does not have the blessing of coming from the Bronx. Okay? Nobody's perfect, right? But he is someone who cares deeply about justice. He is someone who cares deeply about the substance of what we do and the meaning of what we do in public life. And he is a tireless individual. I've watched him a long time. Works very hard and very seriously at the work he does. So it's my pleasure to introduce the chairman of the Council's Committee on the Justice System, Councilmember Rory Lantzman.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good afternoon, everyone. Reverend McCall said, something happened that never should have happened. Something happened that never should have happened. He was referring to the killing of Eric Garner, which all of us saw with our own eyes. A man choked to death in Staten Island before our very eyes. He was not the first New Yorker killed by a police officer's use of what is supposed to be a prohibited chokehold. Here we are in the Bronx, the former home of Anthony Baez, choked to death by a police officer. Something happened that never should have happened, and it happens every day in New York City. Look at today's New York Times of videos that occurred during the protest movement, the anti-racism protest movement that swept New York City. Something happening that never should have happened dozens and hundreds of times in our city. If Black Lives Matter, and Black lives do matter, then it's the responsibility of your elected representatives, your mayor, your council members, your borough president, your district attorneys, your assembly members, to make real the expression that Black Lives Matter. Black Lives Matter, prove it to us. Pass laws that protect Black lives. Black Lives Matter to us, prove it to us. Have the police conduct themselves in a way that shows that Black lives matter to them. So, Mr. Mayor, I want to salute you and thank you for today signing these 6 bills, because these 6 bills, in their small and modest way, are actions that we, as the city's elected representatives, have the responsibility to take, which is to reform our laws, reform our criminal justice system in ways that make true and real that Black lives matter in New York City. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Rory. Thank you very much. Speaking from the heart. So everyone, let me just reflect for a moment before we move over to sign these bills. So you heard before the notion that change happens from the grassroots, and that is the truth. So much of what we need to do starts with people at the community level demanding change. That's been true for generations. And the Black Lives Matter movement has to be a constant going forward to help make sure we take each additional step that we need to take. So this movement, and a lot of people here were active participants, not just in recent weeks, but over years. This today is a victory for you because you worked so hard and your voices were heard. There will always be people who say that these things cannot be done. I remember very vividly in 2013, if you looked at what we were hearing day after day in 2013, you would have imagined it would have been impossible to end the broken and unconstitutional policy of stop and frisk. We were sold a bill of goods. We were lied to every day, being told that if we ended that policy, there would be crime and chaos everywhere. And thank God most of us didn't listen to that hype. We changed something unjust and we became a fairer city, and guess what? We became a safer city at the same time. Because fairness and safety have to walk hand in hand. People said that if we reduced incarceration and ended the era of mass incarceration, we would be endangered. It was the other way around, my friends. We now have fewer people in our jails than any time since World War II. And we are safer for it and better for it. So every time we do these things, we are saying Black Lives Matter in a tangible and real way. Now, we've only begun, and we have to do more. Because Rory makes a powerful point. The day has to be, and it may seem hard to imagine, but it is what we are aspiring to. The day has to come where every interaction a New Yorker has with a police officer is filled with mutual respect. That is what neighborhood policing is building. And Vanessa knows you've been front and center in the effort to build neighborhood policing. It can be done. And these bills will help us do it because they will create more trust and more accountability. So, 6 bills today. Number 1, banning chokeholds again, not only as a matter of policy, but as a matter of law. Number 2, disclosing to New Yorkers how surveillance is done, showing in a free society that the people will know what their government is doing. Number 3, and this is about as basic an American right as it gets, cementing your legal right to record with your camera interactions with police officers. Number 4, and I hear this from people all the time, this is again such a basic right, ensuring your right to know the name and badge number of the officer in front of you. This must always be visible. Number 5, creating a public discipline matrix for the NYPD to make clear what discipline must look like, what accountability must look like. And number 6, as Vanessa said, making sure if an officer is on the wrong path, that is identified. If it can be corrected, that it is corrected. If that person should not be on the police force, that they are removed from the police force. Now, we can do these things, and we can do them because the vast majority of New Yorkers want to get it right. It's what Vanessa talked about, striking that balance. People want to be safe. They need to be safe. They want to work with the NYPD, and they want respect in return. They want dignity. They want to know if something's wrong, it'll be acknowledged and acted on. That's what all of this takes us toward. Now look, I also want to be honest. When there are concerns out there, it makes sense to talk about it, not run away from it. That's right. the bill that Vanessa authored, the transparency bill, I know and I believe in the impulse of that bill, and I'm signing that bill because in a free society, again, if there's surveillance going on, you need to know that those methods are divulged. You need to know what the standards and the rules are. I know some have offered real concerns, including within the NYPD, that if an officer is doing undercover work, we need to protect their identity and protect their lives too, and that is right. If there are acts of terrorism directed against all of us, we must be able to stop them, and that is right. I believe we can accommodate those real concerns within this legislation, and Vanessa and I have talked about it. But I wanted to say out loud that I think those concerns are real, and we will work together to address those concerns. And then on the chokehold bill, again, to be real with people, to be open and honest. I know many in the police department, including many I truly respect, are concerned because although they agree 100%, and it's been the policy of the police department, we cannot have chokeholds, they're concerned about some of the additional language around diaphragms. I am signing this bill because I believe we can make it work. I believe we can find a way to hear those real concerns, to keep people safe, to retrain our officers the right way. But I also believe that we need to acknowledge those concerns because they're saying in the effort to keep us safe, they want to make sure they can do their job on our behalf, and I take that as an honest concern. So we will work together. We will make these pieces of legislation work together. As with all legislation, if something happens that's unintended, we will name it and we will determine how to act together. But I have faith that we're in a moment of history where everyone is ready to do new things and do them better and do things that we thought we could not do before. In that spirit, we move forward. I will tell you, this is a moment of not just crisis and challenge, this pandemic, this economic crisis, this cry for social justice, layer upon layer of challenge. It is not just pain and frustration and anger. It is also a moment for transformation. And we're going to show that right now at that desk here in the Bronx today. Let's sign these bills.
Bills down, please. Bills down. I'm good at you. Listen, we need a residency requirement and a random on that. Now, still. All right, please down a good front. Take it. Yes, please. If you're here. Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone. Solo